And we are back and we are live yet again. Another bi-weekly live stream from the Inventory Hive Legends, which is myself, Mitch Hanley, and Alex Gooch. Alex, how are you today?
I'm very well, Mitch. Thank you. Nobody else calls us legends, by the way. That's
No,
just self-proclaimed.
it's Friday, so we've got to big ourselves up somehow. So
Well, yeah, positive, mate. And what is it? Affirmations. So
yeah,
think rich and you'll be rich. Say you're
yes,
legends, you'll become legends. There you go.
yeah. I might write that one down.
Put that in your back pocket, mate. You can use
Yeah.
that one later.
So first of all, this live stream today is going to be discussing how you can create robust checkout inventory reports. So I know checkouts aren't the most appealing jobs in the world, but hopefully we'll give you some nice hints and tips to make them as easy as possible for you guys today.
Like you say, I don't think they're the most appealing of reports to go and do, but they are really important.
Yeah,
Obviously,
they're probably the most important, really.
yeah, I mean, obviously, at the start of a tenancy, you will conduct a condition and cleanliness check to agree a foundation of basically what the property's like when that resident moves in, when that tenancy starts. The checkout is just as important, or indeed more important, as you say, Mitch, because obviously, 99% of tenancies now will hold a deposit, and to get that deposit back into the tenant's hands, which is obviously what they want, you're going to have to evidence the condition and cleanliness when they leave, essentially. In an
Yeah,
ideal world, you've had a good standing tenant, there's no problems, there's nothing to note really. Not always going to be the case. We understand that. So we've got the system, and Mitch has got some hints and tips to help speed up that process for you.
exactly. It's I think the case is as well is that a lot of people think when you go and do your checkout reports, you need to do the whole property and the whole inventory all over again. When
No.
really you only really need to record, like I said, any tenancy breaches,
Yeah.
condition, the
You've
any
got the
maintenance, yeah,
I'd
some
say it's
maintenance
always
issues as well.
it's always good practice just to do a general overview of each room anyway, just as a standard practice, just to
Yep,
summarise in the report. But then beyond that, it's only then really anything that you need to note that's different versus the check-in.
yeah,
That's obviously from more the tenancy dispute element.
yes,
Obviously, we hope it never goes to a dispute. But then indeed, it's for your own either landlord summaries, for your own getting things ready for the next resident to move in as well. It's good to have that overview of any maintenance issues or repair works that might need to be conducted, and a report can help summarise that much easier
yeah,
than going down and having to remember everything.
yeah, exactly that. And it's like the thing is as well before the next tenancy starts as well. y- Obviously, at checkout you can raise those maintenance issues, so you want to make sure the property's in a respectable condition and those maintenance issues are raised or rectified before the next tenancy starts. So again, it's a great opportunity to send these maintenance issues that are raised at checkout to your maintenance team, or we've got integration with fixed flow, etc. as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're considering purely from an inventory hive perspective, we've got our own sort of maintenance. I'd call it more of like a holding pen, so a summary of every maintenance or repair issue that you might have raised during interim inspections or checkout reports. Then, as Mitch has just said, we integrate with the likes of fixed flow as well. So anything you raise on the inventory hive reports as you're conducting them, they can be sent straight over to fixed flow, and they will land into the maintenance feeds for
Yeah,
their normal remedies.
exactly. So let's get started. I'll show you. Let me just share my screen. 1 second.
I was going to say, what have you got in store for us today, then, Mitch?
What I've got in store is it's mesmerizing stuff for you guys today. Um, so obviously, before you go and do a checkout report, it's good practice. Obviously, you hope you've done a checking report at the property. So I've got my property on my screen here. I've got my checking report, which was completed when the tenancy moved in. Obviously, this is just a dummy one. Um, but what I typically advise before going to the property to do your checkout report is to make sure you have a copy of that checking report ready. So because we're completely paperless, we don't really like the whole printing it out and taking it with you. You can do that obviously, but
Yeah,
another thing,
we still give you the facility to do so. We would
yeah,
just not
so,
recommend cutting down trees for the want of a
yeah.
check-in report.
So you can download your checking report here and then print it out and take it with you if you wish. So you've got a copy with it by the side of you. Or alternatively, what you can do here is, if I just show you this example here, is when you're on the Inventory Hive app, when creating your checkout report in Inventory Hive, so you'll be using the Inventory Hive app, what I tend to do is download a copy of that checking report through the app and then save a copy of that report locally on your phone.
That's a
So
good idea.
so you can actually toggle between the Inventory Hive app while looking through the checking report. So my checking report's downloading on the app now. Once it's downloaded, I'll just save it locally in my files on my iPhone, or if you've got an Android or any other device, just save it on there. So I've got my device, I could just save it locally, and then I could just easily toggle between the app and my downloaded checking report. So I've got
I think
everything ready as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea as well, just to familiarize yourself with the contents of that initial check-in prior to doing the actual checkout, or indeed when you first enter the property to complete that checkout. You can obviously take a look, right, entrance hallway, how was it described when that resident moved in? Okay, and then you can give yourself a quick overview, look around. Is there anything really that I would need to highlight right now?
Yeah,
No, great. If there is, then obviously you can make those notes, and Mitch will probably show you how to do that in a second, I'm guessing.
yes. So I've downloaded my report on the app and now I'm ready to set up my checkout report. So to do that, you just go on the relevant tenancy, you click add report. The report type will be a checkout, obviously today, but something you can do on Image Hive is recycle reports, or especially when doing a checkout report, you'll be able to copy the contents or compare against that check-in. So it's already picked up the previous check-in that I've done at the property as well. So it will make more sense in a second, but when the final checkout report is completed, as long as you've got that check report in Inventory Hive, you've got a clear side-by-side comparison if you raise anything. So if it does go to an adjudication, the adjudicator can clearly see, right, these are the deductions. I can clearly see the before and after descriptions and their date and time stamped as well.
Making the lives of the adjudication team easier is probably what's going to give you the best results as well. So having those side by side images, they don't need
Yeah,
to trawl through a load of documentation. They can literally go, oh, okay, it looked like Exhibit A when the resident moved in. Through Inventory Hive, it's time and date stamped as well, so
yeah,
you can tell the dates on the images. And then at option B, Exhibit B, when that resident moved out, I always use the example of like a dirty sink or something inside of an oven. It was clean and sparkling
yeah,
on the first when they moved in. They moved out on the 30th, 6 months later, and now it's dirty. Side by side image. Yep, that needs cleaning. If it's gone as far as a dispute, hopefully, as I say, you'd look to resolve anything internally beforehand before it has to go to adjudication. But then the adjudicator's got, yep, yep, it's clear as day, done.
perfect. So another thing as well, when creating a checkout report, you do have the option to duplicate the photos across from your check-in. You would only tend to use this feature if, say, you've had a short-term let or the tenancy hasn't been in the property that long, because it's quite possible that the condition cleanliness hasn't changed that much and there's photos across if it's a short-term tenancy.
Yeah, I mean,
If it's long,
imagine like a serviced apartment, or one of the examples we have quite a lot is we work with a lot of student accommodation providers, university halls. Sometimes students might drop out of uni after 3, 4 days if it's really not for them, or they want to move accommodation. That might be a situation where you would duplicate the images just because of the disparity between the dates
yeah,
is minimal.
yeah. But in this case, because our example tenant today has been in the property quite a while, we're going to not duplicate the photographs, but obviously you can still have a look at the before photographs if you wish to. So just going to click Save and Next. That will generate my checkout report. And then all you simply do is go around the property using the Inventory Hive app while looking at the check-in report and just see if there's any tenancy breaches, maintenance issues, or deposit deductions as well. So as myself and Alex mentioned before, there's no need to inspect every single item in the property. Um, on the Inventory Hive app, as long as you're in online mode, it does show the previous description here. Um, so you can retype that in, or you can free type anything that is changed as well if you wish to. It's also got the previous photographs as well. Um, let let's just say when raising an issue that you want to embed in this checkout report, if you want to throw an example, Alex, I think you said it, a sink, a dirty sink that
Yeah,
that you
go
might want
go
to
go
raise.
go to a
So
sink, something like that.
so in this case, I might have inspected the first 3 rooms and found no issues at all. But if I realise there was an issue in the sink, I can raise that issue. So let's go to the kitchen sink. Before it was free of scratches, cracks, no food residue and grease, etc. But now, as we've gone to do a checkout report, um,
It's full of grease. Somebody's like just tipped their
full
chip pan
of
oil down
grease
it or something.
and it needs professionally cleaned.
What you're then able to do is, I'm sure Mitch will show you in a second, is we've got the traffic light indicator system
Yeah,
on here. So obviously you can see the previous color, if you like, where it was, so that you can see that that was previously described as good condition. We've now moved that to move that to poor, so that will
yeah.
indicate on red on the final report. And equally, from what you can see, we can now raise that as a maintenance issue. That will be grouped on the front page. And again, as I said previously, you would have the option to send that to maybe a fixed flow account or indeed use internally. You do also have the option to attribute those costs as well. You don't have to, and also attribute some responsibility. So you could say whether this is the landlord's issue to rectify, whether it should come back to the tenant, they should be responsible, and again, an estimated cost. You don't have to attribute those costs on the page if you don't want to, but the option's there for you.
Another thing that it's probably good to point out as well, that we've got a really good integration with the depository as well. So when doing checkout reports, once they've been completed, these can get pinged straight to the depository. The depository is a great platform which helps with end of tenancy projects going forward. So do get in touch with them. We've got a really good integration with them. So as Alex said, we've outlined the issue here. It needs a maintenance issue, that it's been professionally cleaned, um, a remedial cost has been added in, you consent to fix flow, etc. And then we want to include this item in the report. You can also, it's probably good practice to add a photograph in that as well. So let's see if I've got a photograph lying about somewhere.
I bet you haven't got a sink.
Let's see if we've got a sink.
I don't know. I bet you have in that a miss of property photos, mate.
Oh,
Well, I'll tell you what. Whenever I go to a site now, my camera roll is
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 it?
some yeah. It's a thing of beauty, mate. It's just apartment after apartment, different sofas, floors, ceilings, light switches. I've got
I'm
a
gonna,
very exciting camera roll, mate. I'm fun at
I'm,
parties.
I'm, I can. Oh, I've got a sink. Here we go. Here's a sink. It's not.
the
It's a little bit dirty, but let's just
the
pretend it's
joy on
full of
your
grease.
the joy on
Yes.
your face of finding a
Yeah.
kitchen sink.
So I've done that one. I click save and net, so you just have a look through the rest of the items in your report. So like we said, you just find an item where there's an issue, only record that item and include it in. So for example, if I go to the bedroom and I realise there's actually a big scratch on the wall, you can actually add that in now. So you can put massive scratch on the wall. This will need repairing. And because it wasn't like that when the tenant moved in, you can flag it for maintenance as well, assign it the responsibility and give a remedial cost as well. Um,
As Mitch was saying about the include item in report option, the reason that we have that, this is certainly from an inventory hive perspective, is because all of the items that you don't necessarily need summarizing in this final checkout report will still sit against the report but not visible on the sort of final version. Reason being is you can then use what's in the background for the next check-in. So all of
yeah,
those walls that haven't had to have any comments made against them on this occasion will still be there ready for the next resident that moves in. I don't
exactly
know if
that.
I don't know if I explained that very effectively, but
I thought you did. It basically it means you won't lose the data from the checkout when it's completed, when you've done a check-in.
there we go. Yeah, it's an ever evolving life cycle of the
Yeah.
property essentially.
So I'm going to pretend I've inspected all of the rooms now. I've raised 2 issues. You can also do your utilities meter checks as well. You can record the meter readings. I won't do that today just to save time. Also, Was you going to say something there?
I was going to say it's worth just making sure we've put the date in before we do the preview, Mitch.
Yes. In
Well,
fact,
one
I'll
of the
put
common questions we get on Inventory Hive support is when people preview their report without actually finalising all of the details within, it defaults to the 1st of January 1970. Fun fact, which is just a fact, it's not actually that fun, is that was when computers started recording dates. Was the 1st of January 1970, which is why whenever you see that date, it defaults, just because that's
yeah.
the origin of computer date tracking.
Thanks for that, Alex.
Yeah, there you go, mate. You never know what you're going to pick up
Yeah.
with me. Take me to a pub quiz, mate. I tell you.
Also, when you're doing your checkout report, we'll give you some nice little hints and tips for you just to make sure everything's in nice working order when the tenant's moved out. For example, were the keys handed back at check-in or matching up to the keys at check-in, so you can tick yes to that if there were. Same with the appliance manuals, all the doors and windows locked before exit, and the tenants removed all their rubbish, food, and items as well. So you can tick those as well, and they'll get embedded in your report. And you can even add on any additional notes as well, like any action required for the tenant, the landlord, the tenant's forwarding address. So you can add all of those in, and it just gives you that freedom to add whatever you need in your checkout report.
That's brilliant. And then there's only that other signature section to
Yeah.
complete, and then
So
you'd be able to preview your report.
yeah. So before we tend to there's three options really going forward once you've done your checkout report. What people tend to do, or what we feel probably is the best practice when doing this, is rather than just submitting the report and just hoping the tenant agrees to everything, it's probably good practice to have a conversation with that tenant before you fully complete that report, just to outline what issues have been raised. So you can it builds up that relationship with the tenant. You're having a good conversation with them, and it's also like a negotiation process before it gets submitted to a dispute if there is one. So having that conversation with the tenant before the report's completed and they've signed it just means you've engaged with them. You've given them the opportunity to provide some feedback on any issues they want to raise as well. I don't know if any agents have mentioned that as well to you, Alex, about
Yeah, I think it's important as well to note from a customer service perspective. At the end of the day, as a letting agent, especially, I appreciate the bills are sort of paid by the landlord rather than the actual tenant indirectly, if that makes sense. But the customer service element, so giving that that element of satisfaction to the customer, the tenant, a conversation always goes a long way. That's one thing that I notice. Obviously, my primary focus within the property industry now is the build to rent sector, and that's one thing that they do very well is their customer service element and their resident satisfaction. And I think that does just come down to the communication that they have. And a lot of the agents that we work with, they all sort of follow that general trend. But parting on a good note is always worthwhile,
yeah,
in my opinion, obviously.
yeah, definitely. You've also got the option to send this report to the tenant through the paperless feedback process, but obviously, with that process, it might take a little bit longer than just having a quick conversation with the tenant and then getting them to sign it off there and then. So it's up to you how you want to proceed with that. If there aren't any issues, then you could just submit your checkout report, no issues raised, and then the next tenant can get ready to be moved in, basically. So that's been put to bed. So this checkout report we've done today, I'm just going to preview how it looks. As Alex mentioned, it throws up all the maintenance action required to the first page. So the landlord, um, the dispute service, tenants deposit scheme, whatever deposit scheme you use, can clearly see the issue straight away. And then as they look through the report, the only items that show on the report are those that have been raised. So if I just scroll down, it's got a clear before and after description. So the previous state of the sink was it was free of scratches and cracks, but now it's full of grease and it's clearly outlined, and a photograph has been supplied as well. So it's just nine, clean and concise, and really easy for an adjudicator to see as well as the landlord and agent and tenant.
Yeah, I think from certainly from a letting agent perspective, when you are going to be sharing this with a landlord, just to show the condition after that tenant's been in, it's nice to have that all of that summarised, so that then they can just at a glance see right what needs doing in my property. To some extent, occasionally it might be right. How much have I got to pay to get this back to a standard for the next tenant to move in? All of that is summarised on the front page, so they
Yeah,
can see that. I mean, obviously you'll have your own internal dialogue with them anyway, but it's nice to have that
yeah.
in a report, as Mitch has just shown you how to produce.
Yeah, and now that report, now it's been completed off and signed off by the tenant and agreed by the tenant, it's saved on your dashboard. You can access it anytime. If it does need sharing with anyone, you can just click here. You can email the report directly by just typing a name and email, or you can share it via link via WhatsApp or um, email or whatever you like, really. So you can
And you
generate that
can,
link. Yeah.
and you still can do the traditional method of download it as a PDF if you want to,
Yes.
and store on your own servers. But obviously, with Inventory Hive being a cloud-based software, we are also a storage solution in that sense as well. So all of your reports, unless deleted, will be on your account whilst you maintain your subscription with us.
There's also a proper example of a checkout report on our website, so you can have a look at that here. And this is a bit probably over the top, maybe, I'm not sure
I
about.
always think it's very for the example purpose. I think it's nice and in depth, isn't it?
Yes. So this is an example on our website of a completed checkout report. All the maintenance issues, breaches, anything like that get thrown to the first couple of pages as well. So do have a look at this. And like I said, you've got your before and after descriptions as well, which help clearly show the before and after at the start and at the end of the tenancy.
Yeah, I think you've summarised the whole creating a robust checkout inventory report nicely there, Mitch. To be honest, so I'd say that's mission complete from your perspective. You had
Mission
a title,
accomplished.
yeah. You had an objective, and I'd say you've met that.
Lovely stuff. I think that pretty much sums it up today. I know checkout reports aren't the most, like I said, the most um, they don't get you out of bed in the morning to go and do the
they,
reports, I
they
suppose.
do
But
they do if you've got 5 of them booked in,
yeah,
mate.
yeah. But I think what people think as well, it's that awkward conversation if there is any issues to have with the tenant, and obviously you don't. Ideally, the tenant would leave the property in the same or similar condition to when they moved in. So building that relationship throughout the tenancy, ideally creating your midterm and interim visits as well to make sure everything's resolved, so no maintenance issues go missed during the tenancy. Just to
I think that's a
it's
valid point, and we did a live stream a couple of weeks back about midterm and interim inspections, didn't we? And
yeah,
and how they will actually help come check out because you've kept on top of things throughout the tenancy.
yeah.
And I think it's just to reiterate that point really. So if you missed that one, go back onto our YouTube channel. It'll be down on our LinkedIn and Facebooks as well. But you can search the word interim and come across that one.
So the key points to take away really are: one is just to make sure you've got your checking report inventory handy, so you've got something to compare against when you go to the property. You only really need to record any tenancy breaches, deposit deductions, or maintenance issues on your checkout report. There's no need to record everything as well. And I'd probably say as well is to have a productive conversation with the tenant or tenants at checkout once you've done your checkout report, just to make sure you're not springing any surprises on them when you if you do raise any issues. Um,
Yeah, I couldn't
and
agree
that's
with you more, Mitch, to be
yeah.
honest.
If anyone's got any questions, you can just get in touch with myself at mitch@inventoryhive.co.uk or my colleague Alex at alexg@inventoryhive.co.uk or info@inventoryhive. So whatever you like. We've got loads of emails. So just have a look at our website as well.
Take your choice.
Take your choice. Have a look at the sample report on our website as well. Thanks for your time today. And like I said, any questions, just get in touch. We're always here to help you guys. So, and thanks to Alex as well.
Yeah, not a problem. I mean, we do tend to do these bi-weekly. I
Yeah.
won't be here for the
What?
next one though. My
Oh,
30th birthday, mate. I
that'll
know.
be the day.
I'm actually taking some
Viewers will be
time
through
off.
the roof that day. Top man. Right, we're going to shoot. So cheers for your time, guys. And thanks again, Alex.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.